Namaste, Talofa, Bula, Kia orana, hello from New Zealand, the Pacific, and to wherever you are in the world. Welcome to episode number 3 of Straight Up. So Straight Up is a platform that I've taken hold of, grabbed it firmly at the scruff of the neck. And what I'm trying to do here is empower people by presenting to them leaders in the health and sports fields. And if you can take away any gems from the talk that we had today with Dr. Nick, then that is a positive, and I'm sure you will get plenty. So I'm really, really happy to welcome not only my colleague, but my very good friend, Dr. Nick Laurie. Nick, you are sitting in your city chiropractic offices. Welcome, mate. Thank you for coming along.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries, mate. Hey, I want to introduce you because I want people to get an understanding of who you are and what you are and what you stand for. Obviously, you're a vitalistic chiropractor. You have been for 22 years now. But not only that, you're actually a leader, you're a mentor, you're a teacher within the profession as well. Very well respected chiropractor. But also outside of chiropractic, you're a national surf boat champion, former national surf boat champion, now a national coach or a selector. And you've run 25 marathons. I don't know how on earth you could even do one, let alone 25. So it's really cool to have you on because you're someone that practices what we preach, okay? And we preach real health and wellness and vitality, and you're someone that does that. So let me ask you the first question is what got you into chiropractic in the first place? You've got a pretty good story, so can you share it with all the listeners? Because this is going live now on Facebook. And then what we're going to be doing too is we're going to modify this and we're going to put it into the YouTube channel as well. So it'll have a huge reach. So explain to us what got you into chiropractic. What's your story?
Okay, so I was rowing surf boats, and it was interesting. The guys in my crew sitting behind me noticed that I had a bit of a wobble when I was sliding down the boat, and they said that they thought I was crooked, and I said, "Oh, okay. Well, what do I do about being crooked? You can give me a hard time, but let's try and sort it out." And so there was a chiropractor associated with Ottawa Surf Club. His name was Graham Dobson. And so I got sent along to Graham, and he really he's a bit of a guru in the chiropractic field. And he just managed to explain to me, he took x-rays and everything, and managed to explain to me that my body was out of line, it was pulling tighter on one side, and it was down to poor communication. Now, at that stage, I wasn't ready to hear the message. I just wanted to be balanced and sorted out. And sure, he did that, got me under care. And he got me so under care that I married his daughter. And so that was so I could get some cheap fees. And then I moved to, I went over and I was over in Australia, and I had to transfer chiropractor. So I left Graham, and he sent me to another guy. And this guy, his name was Anthony Tremaine. And he was a real disciple of guy, he's a Regiite. So he was really into the philosophy of chiropractic. And he explained to me, it's so simple, that brain communicates with the body. And if you keep that clear, you keep it clear and connected, you'll perform at your best. And I hadn't sort of got that message from Graham. I wasn't ready to hear it. And I was so inspired by that I actually decided to chuck in what I was doing. I had a successful business selling fishing gear, and I decided to chuck that in, and I thought, right, I'm going to be a chiropractor. I'm going to do this.
That's awesome. That's a really cool story. So, and you hit it on the head there because, I get this all the time in clinic. I think when people first come to a chiropractor, or if they go to any health professional, for example, a physio, an osteo, acupuncture, they're going there primarily with a symptom. Okay, and as you hit it on the head, we just want to get rid of my pain. And so the medical philosophy now is very similar to that, isn't it? It's big pharma. It's all around being reactive and not proactive. So when was that shift for you? Was that under care before you became a chiropractor, or was it later on down the track when we talk about that difference between what we call proactive and reactive and actually educating patients?
Yeah, well, at that stage I was playing. When I was under Graham's care, I was playing senior rugby, and I moved from, I got to put on a little bit of weight, so I'd moved from flanker to hooker. And so with the stuff that demands put on my body, I used to get checked on a Friday, just checked, make sure everything was aligned so I could go in and punish myself on Saturday, and then checked again on Monday, or adjusted on Monday after being pummeled on the Saturday. And so one was proactive and one was reactive. Now I knew there was something there, because I could see I was probably in one of the most demanding positions on the field physically, but I was least injured. My recovery on Tuesday nights, I was running around like a flea, and everyone was stiff and sore still from Saturday, but my recovery was way better. And I knew there was something there. I knew there was something to what I was doing, so I kept doing it. But then the actual clarity of the message, like I say, hit later. And once I got that, I just thought, yeah, I understand. So every year when I played rugby, at the start of the year, I would get the flu. Like the start, it's just a change of fitness, change of season, and my body didn't adapt well to those changes. Once I got under chiropractic care, I didn't get that. I had probably a sniff, but my body coped with it, dealt with it, and was able to handle it. And that was one thing I could put my finger on. The other thing was I'd get adjusted, and I'd be driving in my car, and it was like I'd had 10 cups of coffee. My mind was just going all over the place. I was even smiling, which I don't do a lot. But those things, the little things like that, were just they started to add up. They made me think that there's something in this. There's something in this chiro stuff. Well, in a body.
You and I know that, and we're educated in it, and we know it, we practice, we preach it every day. One of the things I saw, because you had a great article last week in Verve magazine, excellent article, and in there you even talked about getting adjusted. You talked about being quite sickly at the beginning of a season and then never getting the flu. Now, for the lay people listening in here, there can be some people listening in on the Facebook Live. There'll be some people watching the YouTube video later on. Can you explain to them, because people will just go, well, that's weird. How does going to a chiropractor help your immune system, or when you're just clicking bones, how does that help? So can you explain that philosophy around chiropractic, how it helps the immune system, but then can you lead into what vitality or vitalism means as well?
Oh yeah, okay, cool. So, well, every human, every body has the ability to heal and repair itself. So if you think about a simple thing like getting a cut. Do you have to do anything for that cut to repair? It'll repair itself. It does it itself. So that thing is going on in the body the whole time. And that was the crux of the first guy who invented chiropractic, old D.D. Palmer. So he found that there is an inherent ability in the body to heal itself. Now, what happens is we put stuff in the way of that. So we will have a spine that is not moving well. And what that does is that interferes with the main communication system in the body. So it interferes with the spinal cord and the spinal nerves, and they're trying to get those healing messages out. Now, if they can't get them out clearly at 100%, you're not going to function at 100%. So with my rugby thing, what I'd do is I'd get cleared, I'd have my body, all the muscles would be switching on at the right time, and they would be performing as my brain wanted them to. But on the Monday, when I was going in after a game, everything had been shut down. I was in fight or flight. I was in damage control. What we did was pretty much reboot that system, get it open and flowing, and then the body started to work better. Yeah. So with stuff like a cold, well, what happens is your body has the ability to rally and fight that cold. Now, normally you can get rid of the flu in 7 days. If you take medication, like a cough suppressant or something like that, it's 10 days. And I'm not saying that because I'm bias against pharmacology or anything like that. What happens is the normal systems like coughing, sneezing, they're shut down a little bit. So they're suppressed, so you don't heal as quick. But if you open everything up and embrace all that, you heal quicker and you heal way faster with a clear and connected body. I don't want to sound weird, but it's just, if you just have a brain that can communicate with your body, good stuff happens.
But that's not weird. That's the thing. We're made out to seem as though we're alternative. But what are we alternative to? When you look at drugs and you look at surgery, etc. I mean, we need the drugs. There's some amazing life-saving drugs there, and of course, the surgery is changing people's lives. But the very first port of call should be to your health and wellness professional. Now, whether that is a chiropractor or it is a practicing physio who thinks the same, or an osteo or an acupuncturist, naturopath, whatever, we're complementary, not alternative. That's the way I look at it. And you hit it on the head there. You said, you know, the body has this innate ability to heal itself, but the key thing there is if given a chance. Now, we mentioned, and you mentioned in your Verve article too, about the 3 T's. So what stops the body then? If you can explain the 3 T's and then the chemical, physical, emotional reasons, that would be really good.
Yeah, so in chiropractic, the forces that cause your spine to lose its normal function come in 3 forms, and we call them the 3 T's: traumas, toxins, and thoughts. So the traumas, first, that's physical forces. So you can think, okay, easy, car accident, lifting injury, that sort of stuff. Oh, yeah, that's okay. But what about the micro traumas, like posture, head forward posture, nailing your body a little bit all day? So that's the first T. That's the physical things, traumas. The second one is chemicals. So that's toxins. Now, if your body is chemically balanced, it runs easily. But if it's out of balance and you put something in it that upsets that balance, it has to fight that, and it goes into fight or flight. And what at my practice, what we call that is, we call it going into the red zone. So, and if you're doing anything chemically, that, like you're having too many beers, a couple of rumbos, those things can force you to go into fight or flight. You're having to clear those toxins out of your system. What's your body doing while it's busy clearing these toxins? It's not looking after the basics well. So that's how toxins can affect you. And then the last one is thoughts or stress. Now, I couldn't quite understand how like a bit of stress would affect you, would affect your spine, until I got it clarified for me by a lady, Brandy McDonald. She's a Canadian chiropractic educator. Her husband's a chiropractor, and she is a chiropractic educator. And she said that when you have stress in your body, the things that fire are all the flexor muscles. So if you think of the flexors, that pulls you over like this. And a stressed person will have tight hamstrings, rounded shoulders, head forward posture, and that is just the natural fight or flight stress cover-up response. And if you're doing that, then that's just going to amplify the other 2 T's, and you're just hiding to nothing. So what we got to do is we got to work out ways to dial down that stress. Your body's always striving to try and dial down that stress, and I found 3 good ways to do that. So the first one is getting adjusted. So get clear and connected, and your body can rally against those forces. The second one is to breathe into your stomach. Now, my wife's really big on this. She actually runs a whole business on it, but it's diaphragmatic breathing. And what you do is you breathe right in until you can feel the breath about a couple of inches below your belly button. And if you have that functioning, your brain is tricked into releasing endorphins that calm down the stress response, because you can't do that breathing when you're running from a tiger. And then the last one is, speaking of running from a tiger, is if you actually do go for a run, if you do mobilize your body and get your heart rate up, as soon as the heart rate drops, endorphins are released, because the body thinks, okay, danger's left, I'm cool, I can calm down now. And they're 3 good things that I recommend to all my patients.
Absolutely. And as I say, this is the difference between getting to what we call the root cause rather than just treating a symptom. And one of the key things I say to my patients is, look, there's two ways you can approach it. Is we can give you a big jab of morphine and you'll probably walk out of here thinking, whoa, man, I feel good. But once that morphine wears off, the problem's still there. So we've got to address what's been causing the problem. And this is where, as I think our profession is so great, because it's a holistic profession. We encompass everything, as you said, the three T's, the trauma, the thoughts, the toxins, or the chemical, physical, emotional reasons around why people are experiencing dis-ease. So can you explain a bit further then around that thought process? How do you educate your patients or explain to your patients why they should come back for a second visit? Why should they come back next week? I mean, if they're feeling good, isn't that really what patients have asked for and that's what they want?
Yeah, well, the first thing, and I've made this mistake early on in my career, was the first thing I did was I had my ideas and they were the ideas. But every individual that comes to you has goals. And that's what we've got to listen to. So the first thing is you've got to meet your patient's goal. And the majority want to move better and feel better. Now, I know in 22 years of practice that I can make someone move better and, well, help someone move better and feel better in 1 or 2 visits, but it's not a lasting situation. And it is just like, that is actually treating. I'm treating the injury there. But if I'm caring for their body, I know that it's going to be a month for them to stabilize, for their spine and their body to sort of get set into a pattern, to break down the old patterns and start new patterns, generally takes about a month. And then what we do is, okay, you feel good and you're moving good. What about the stuff that we found when you first came in? The body imbalances, the weaknesses, the postural changes. Can we address those? And then you add that on. So that's the next thing that we start working on. And that's actually, we're trying to reverse for a phase 1 degenerative spine that's been in that condition for at least 10 years. So we're going to actually see some changes, measurable changes, and we will see them in 3 months rather than 10 years. And once you start to see, you get a glimmer of hope and you see that what chiropractic has to offer, you do want more. And then the goal is to get to a position where you're functioning the best you can and you want to stay there. You're in a state of ease. You're in the green zone rather than the red zone. And when you're in the green zone, digestion's awesome, immunity's awesome, reproduction's awesome, as long as you find someone to do it with. Everything like that, it just functions really well in the green zone. So that's the goal of the patients that I get in here, is that we're working towards the green zone rather than the red zone. Once we satisfy the other stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. And it is a mental shift for patients, isn't it? Because we're in this environment of just fix it quick. If I'm hungry, I'll just drive through McDonald's, I'll get something to eat quickly. If I've got a headache, I'll just take a pill. So it is that shift that it's our role as health professionals to try and make that shift, because I wouldn't think that there's anybody in the world that doesn't want to be healthier or fitter or more mentally alert, or live longer, etc. So I think everybody has that thought process, but it's up to us then to educate it. So from what listening to you, and you and I, we have very similar, if not the exact same philosophies, but can you explain to me, because I've heard of this vitalistic chiropractic, or I'm a vitalistic, or vitalism, or vitality. Can you explain that a little bit further, more for me too, but also for our listeners?
Yeah, well, vitalism is just based on that major premise that there is a healing property within everybody. So everybody can heal and repair itself. So what you want to do is unleash that. And that's what vitalistic chiropractors do, rather than the whole focus. Okay, sure, we do have success with injuries, but the goal isn't to heal that injury. The goal is to enhance the body and get it functioning at its best. And that's why a lot of those chiropractors will call it care rather than treatment, because they're not treating the injury or treating the person. They are caring for them on their journey and helping them express themselves at 100%. So that's what
how do we, like someone like, so meet Kasia down here. Kasia's from Poland, but she's living in the USA. She asked a good question of Dr. Sarah Farrant last week around how do we find those chiros? I mean, if I'm wanting to send a chiropractor down to Hamilton, but I want them to see a chiro like us, because not all chiros think like us, unfortunately. How do we sort of, I mean, is there a page, is there a website, is there a mechanistic versus a symptomatic versus a vitalistic chiropractic site, or is it pretty much hit and miss?
Well, to be honest, it is hit and miss, but I think what it is, the best way is vitalistic chiropractors know who other vitalistic chiropractors are.
Yeah.
So there'll be internal referrals, and that's probably the way to go if that's what you want. But there's some people who no, I just want to be fixed, and those chiros are great, and they're probably the chiros who, like, they're the chiros that you see who are going to the Olympics and whatever. They can fix someone fast. Or I went to a conference once, and there was a guy who was working on the ATP on the tennis tour, and he was a chiro on that, and he was pretty much glorified physio but doing some chiropractic moves. Yep. But he had 40 seconds to go out on the main court at Wimbledon. He had 40 seconds to go out there and get, say, Roger Federer going again. And there was millions of people, watching what he did, millions of dollars at stake, and he had to do it in 40 seconds. Now, that's a different type of chiropractic. He's not doing it to give Roger a better life. He's doing it to repair and get him on that court and get him moving. So that's a different goal. And that's not a bad goal. That's a good goal. But I just found the chiropractic that I got the most benefit out of was the regular. I get checked and adjusted every week, regardless whether I'm injured or not. And I find my body. So I've run 25 marathons. So I have found that my body has functioned better and better. I'm probably one of the fitter, more mobile guys of my age group. I know that from our touch team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can vouch for that, mate.
Yeah. So, that's the result of that style of chiropractic care. Yeah. I personally prefer that, but there's a place for all the different types.
Absolutely, and you made a good point there around the Federer and you get 40 seconds to fix someone. I mean, I'm the same. You get patients on Friday morning, they ring up, oh man, I've got a game tomorrow. I might just strain my back, and can you fix me? And you've got to do it. You've just got to get in there, and you got to correct it and make that point. Nick, if you don't mind, Kassia's just raised her hand. She wants to ask a question. So Kassia, go ahead.
Hello, Nick. Hello, Jeff. Hello, doctors. So I'm assuming Nick is from New Zealand. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah.
So I want to share something with you and ask you a question, because I was born in Poland. I moved to the United States in 2003, and I started learning about chiropractic as a medicine, as that is more respected here in this country than in my country, in Poland. I've heard of chiropractors, but they were kind of like a woohoo boohoo doc, not even doctors, just the woohoo people that they could crank your bones, and then it wasn't called medicine. So my question is, how popular in New Zealand is chiropractic medicine, and then how is it, maybe what's the balance between the the normal medicine and the chiropractic approach? Thank you.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, well, sadly in New Zealand, we are a minority, and there's probably what most people go to for musculoskeletal issues is a physiotherapist or a PT. We do see there is quite a large community of people that we do see who do seek our services and do like the more natural approach, and do like the vitalistic approach. One thing that where chiropractic has it really over the physical therapy is that we look after kids and babies, and the kids and babies grow up under chiropractic care and then don't know a better way. They just know that chiropractic is what you do. And so that is how chiropractic in New Zealand is growing from the bottom up. Now, in the 1970s, there was a commission of inquiry filed by the New Zealand Medical Council saying that we were practicing medicine without a license. And they tried to wipe us out. What came out of it was a series of recommendations, most of which haven't been taken up by the government, but it came out that we were actually better qualified than most professions to look after back pain. So that commission of inquiry was in 1977. We got government funding from there for accident care, ACC we call it here. So the validity is there. It's just the education. There's just got to be more chiropractors in the world. There's got to be more chiropractors in New Zealand. That's why we've got the New Zealand Chiropractic College. It's turning out graduates every year. We don't have enough. I'm looking for associates at the moment, and I just can't find anyone. So the demand is there. We've just got to get the doctors on the floor to help have them out there and changing the world one spine at a time.
That's exactly it, isn't it? We've just got to, because I think people are craving that they want to be healthier, they want to be better, and I think people are really shifting away from just that symptomatic approach of modern medicine. Again, I don't want to be here to bag modern medicine, but it does seem as though, man, Kevin down the bottom there has a sore shoulder here, take this painkiller until he gets an ultrasound and realizes that it's torn. So, and again, I'll mention Kevin again because he's heard me say the 80-20 rule, and I'm a big fan of that. We're 80% of the time, we're motivated, we're up, we're spiritually, emotionally, physically, we're out there as best as we can, but we need that 20% or even 10% of time of downtime. Now, the reason I'm saying that because I want to lead into Fiji on Fire and what you're running over there, because every year I say, I've got to go. And it seems to me as though you've got that balance really, really well. I mean, you run a really good program over there, but then I've seen the photos of you guys drinking cocktails and swimming in the pool and the surf. So can you explain a little bit about, because we mentioned before around like-minded chiropractors. I mean, obviously those people that are going to Fiji on Fire, they're all on the same wavelength, same philosophy. And how was that format run over there?
Yeah, well, how it came about was we were at a conference that was down in Queenstown, and we were sitting there going, wow, this is really good. We've been here all weekend and we haven't been outside. We haven't embraced the beautiful surroundings. How about we run a conference where you have 2 hours in the morning where you go hard, and then 2 hours in the afternoon, and in between, where the real conference occurs is when you're talking to your mates, you're talking to each other. What did you hear? You can even speak to the person who's spoken on the stage and ask them, well, what did you really mean there? So pre-COVID, my family, we always went to Fiji once a year. And I said, right, Fiji would be the best place to do it. Had a ideal hotel, a swim-up bar. And so Fiji on Fire was born, and I thought, okay, so we've got the venue, and then we thought we better get some speakers. So the first I contacted actually was Brandy McDonald, the lady from Canada. And now I didn't know, and I said to her, come down, we've got the swimming pool, and then on the day 3 we go out to a floating bar out on the ocean. It's just so cool. Well, I didn't know she couldn't swim and was scared of water. But she came down, and then she attracted other speakers, and we ended up with probably a bill that would rival any seminar in the world. Great speakers, all, and the talks were only 30 minutes. You weren't allowed to have any long ones because you had to stay awake with the cocktail influence. But it was just a 30 minutes dip, and then spark the mind, and then it was something that you could have a conversation with your colleagues. So we did a 2-hour stint, 4 speakers, and then another 3 hours in the pool, having lunch, talking to your colleagues about what you'd learned, what you do in your practice, and the stuff that came out of it, the initiatives. There was a big initiative for the Chiropractic College and scanning, using the scanners. That came out of Fiji on Fire. There's been I think there was a donation of hundreds of thousands of dollars from a group of American doctors for the Center for Chiropractic Research. So some amazing stuff came out of our so-called piss up, which it really has benefited the profession, but it's been shut down now. It'll rise out of the ashes soon.
Good, excellent. Hey, a question's been asked about osteopathic medicine. Is it also included in your chiropractic medicine education in New Zealand? So maybe could you talk about the relationship there, how, back in D.D. Palmer's days where, he was a magnetic healer, but the osteopaths and chiros were together, and how they've separated a bit.
Yeah, the separation between the two, between osteopaths and chiros. Now, I'm not too qualified to talk about this because I've never been to an osteo, but I have spoken to a number of them, and the difference between the two is philosophy. So an osteo may have similar skills to a chiropractor. They call them manipulations, we call them adjustments. So they can adjust a spine, or they can manipulate a spine where we adjust it, but we do with a different goal. Our goal is to free the nerve from interference, and their goal is to promote and stimulate blood flow. Now that's where the difference comes in, because we use techniques when we're adjusting the spine with the nerve in mind. And it's very, very precise. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but it's very, very precise with the way that we do it. And an osteo may also, they are still in the philosophical model of treating an injury. So they will also perhaps massage, do other things as well in an effort to stimulate blood flow and get the changes that way. Now, each to their own. They're both, like, people will swear by them, but personally, I think the nerve approach is growing, and there's a lot of science behind it, because you can see exactly what's being affected.
And I explain to my patients, look, it's easy to move bone. I mean, you can grab your mate, give him a big bear hug, or grab the missus, give her a big bear hug, and But the key here for us, as you said, it's an adjustment. It's very specific. What bone are we moving, and what direction are we moving it in? And I want to make it really clear for people too listening that we actually do have listings that we write down. So if I adjust third lumbar as a PLS, it means that vertebra's gone posterior left superior, and I've got to move it through that range of movement. That's how specific we are, rather than just getting in there and just moving joints around for the sake of movement. Is that a good explanation, do you think, Nick?
Yeah, it is. I think we do have to be careful, because we don't know enough about osteopathy ourselves. Like, we haven't experienced it. So
I've got some good osteo mates. They're bloody brilliant, So again, we're just trying to answer that question, I guess. And I think osteopaths and chiros are very similar, but I think you hit it on the head. It's more that philosophy, I think.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
Hey, so I want to uncover a little bit about Nick Laurie, the man. In the Verve magazine article, there was a really good sentence there that I put my finger on it. You'd said you needed, or quote, I needed to grow personally if I wanted to expand professionally. So again, we want to get some info out of you. What drives you? What motivates you? What makes you tick, etc. So when you say that you needed to grow personally, what do you mean by that?
Well, people are attracted to energy. And if you are a sad sack, you are probably not going to be very attractive. So what I found was I attended a few of these chiropractic seminars, and they always have the science, and then they have a bit of philosophy, and then they have hype up people. And I found that I resonated with the energy that these people who were hyped up were putting out. And so what I started to look at was, okay, well, what's holding me back? Why can't I feel that all the time? And then I undertook an 18-month coaching course. I thought, okay, yeah, I'm going to learn how to coach people, and this is going to be awesome. I got in there, and the 18 months was spent breaking me down and rebuilding me. And so it was a personal journey that then you could share with others when you came out of it, because you had been there yourself. And I went in there and I thought, pretty successful guy, got a great family, good relationships, plenty of mates. No, I was wrong. There's so many things I carried around in my head, so many judgments and things I was making. And I managed to sort of just peel away at that, and then come out the other side.
Yeah, that's awesome, because what I try and do, and I struggle with it on a daily basis, is when you enter the clinic as Dr. Jeff Alley. So I try and dump being a dad, dump being a husband, dump any mental baggage, and I try and tap the door as I walk in. So all of a sudden I've got the switch. It's a mental switch, because patients do not want to see a grumpy chiropractor. They don't want to go, Nick, yeah, you're next. Yeah, jump on the table. So we've got to be up all the time. That's what I'm saying. And so to be up all the time, I think we've got to have our own personal space, or ourselves. We've got to have that healthy as well, don't we?
Yeah, well, the best way to get it, and the best way to anchor, you use the door as a little anchor to remind you to do it. But the best thing to come back to is why. Why are you here? And revisit it every day. Why? And the why is, like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now. It's like, I get to help people. I get to see people transform. And then also the benefits from that is I get to feed my family. We get to go on trips. We get to live in a nice house. But the why is, you can have any why you want, and if it resonates with you, it'll motivate you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree 100% with that. So let's move on. Because this is an uncensored platform, and we're running out of a little bit of time here. So I do want to put this on you, put you on the spot. In this current environment and we talk about the outside in or the inside out, we talk about the germ theory versus terrain theory, etc. In the current environment we're in with COVID, the advice we're getting on a daily basis for 2 years has been reactive. Okay, what I mean by that is, there's a virus out there, wear a mask, wash your hands, social distance, get a vaccine. Do you think we're missing something there, Nick? What can we add to that, do you think?
Well, of course, we should all get vaccinated, but sarcastically, no,
it's an open platform, mate. It's uncensored.
The main things that we should do is, you need to be a place that's not a good garden for a germ. So you need to be like concrete. If you throw some seeds on the concrete, will they grow? No, they won't, because there's not a fertile environment. So you want to be concrete. So how do you be concrete? Well, you move better, you eat better, and you think better. So if you do those 3 things consistently well, you will bulletproof your immune system.
Yeah.
And your immune system's pretty good. There's lots of households now, I know from friends in the UK, there's lots of households where 4 out of 6 people got COVID. Why didn't those other 2 get COVID?
Good question.
Yeah, it wasn't social distancing, it wasn't the mask. It was because they had the internal ability to repel the germ. Let's focus on that.
I mention all the time, the virus does not like healthy people. When you look at the fact that the people that are dying they're dying with COVID, usually with 2 or more comorbidities. We know that from all the data and the science. And they're obviously age, but also it hits the obesity, obese people as well. So the 3 leading causes of death in New Zealand: obesity, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes. What are the things we really should be putting all these health dollars into? Because this isn't, to me, it isn't about our health. Because I would say that every day they'd be saying, open the gyms, get to your gyms, get outside in the fresh air and exercise, eat organic, wholesome foods, go to your chiropractor or your health and wellness professional on a regular basis, make sure that your nervous system's functioning. But mentioning things like vitamin D, zinc, quercetin, NAC, not once in 2 years has the government with their health policy ever mentioned anything like that. So again, you know, it's up to us, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We are the professions that will rise out of the ashes of this. And we've really taken a hiding because everything that we've said in the past has been now labeled a conspiracy theory. Like it's a conspiracy theory to be healthy. And now people are waking up. Or perhaps the other way didn't work so well. And that's not even controversial now. A year ago it was. But now everyone can see that there has to be a better way. And we're the healthy lifestyle, vitalism is the way to approach this, to be as vital as you can. So just eat the best food you can, move as much as you can, and obviously have a clear and connected body.
Yeah, and be proactive. Don't wait for the virus to hit before you all of a sudden think, oh, actually, I want to get fit. Oh, I better go and shop organically, or I better take that vitamin D. We've got to be proactive with it. Absolutely, 100%. The studies around natural immunity versus artificial immunity, do you want to touch on that? Because obviously they're just mind-blowing. These are the ones, I think, from overseas, but showing that natural immunity, anywhere from 13 to 33%, far more effective than any artificial immunity.
Yeah, well, you can just break that down to something simple, just to an example. Like you've got the study there backing it up. But my cough medicine example, like you take the cough medicine, you're going to have the cold for 10 days rather than 7. When if you just rely on natural immunity, stay natural, perhaps, drink a little bit of lemon honey, that sort of stuff. Probably that's an example of natural versus artificial. And there's plenty of examples out there, but we're not allowed to talk about them now, because it goes against the pharmacology or the big pharma narrative. Now there's going to be some kickback. When there's kickback, just remember, we'll go back to what we've known for centuries.
Yeah. Katsia, you want to ask a question?
I want to actually share something. So 2 years ago, kind of before the whole thing started, I actually got the flu, and I was so miserable. And recently, I was I welcomed this thing again to my reality. But the difference between the first time and my second time is that the first time I also allowed it to happen. When I felt my first symptoms, I was like, I remember when I was talking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be miserable, I'm gonna be in bed forever, and I'm gonna be so sick. And that's exactly what I ordered. This time, when I got first symptoms, I know why it happened, because my vibration was going down because of some event, and my body immediately started having those symptoms. And as I say, I activated my magic finger, and I was telling myself, I was saying to myself, to my immune system, to my reality, I was saying, I am not knowing consent to it. So I fought it in 3 days, which is, in my case, it's incredibly a big achievement, because through my early life, I mean, before who I am right now, I was, fighting bronchitis, pneumonias all the time. because of the abuse and that I was not able to speak up. So when you learn a little bit more about your own, you know, alignment, about your own power, things, they can shift dramatically. And for me, this is a very big achievement that in 2 years I didn't get sick, because usually I would be getting sick like maybe even 6 times a year. So I am doing so much better. Thank you to people like you guys. Thank you to this platform. And I just wanted to make sure, because we're on Facebook Live, you know, I'm not diagnosing, I'm not a doctor. This is just my story. I'm sharing my story. So I'm not telling you what you have to do. You have to tell you what
this is
you
an
can do.
open, this is the beauty about it. It's an open platform. Mark Zuckerberg or Jack Dorsett from Twitter, they're not going to come and shut us down. We can say what we want. And hey, look, if someone complains about it, then they just won't tune in next week. It's no big deal. And as I said, I'm allowing Nick an open platform, and you guys as well. That's what it's all about. That's the beauty about it.
No, but coming back to that,
Yeah.
the mind is a very powerful thing, and it's underestimated because we call it airy fairy. But if you have a strong mental presence, and you say to yourself, "Self, this is not going to get me," look, that example there, you can really turn things around just through not surrendering.
Yeah.
And so the big thing, what have all the governments around the world got us to do? They've got us to surrender, and to fear, to live in fear. And that in itself has probably cost a few lives. And I know that's sounding a little bit too far, but that in itself has caused people to probably be sicker than what they normally would be, because they're fearing the severity of this thing. Whereas if you have faith in your body to fight it, you'll probably do a little bit better.
Absolutely. And stress is a killer as well. And people are stressed about going out in public. You know, I mean, I went for a walk this morning, and I'm along Browns Bay Beach, and there's probably 5 or 6 people along Browns Bay Beach, and there's one guy on his own with no one within 30 meters walking along the beach with a mask on. And I did really want to just go up and just tap him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, excuse me, mate, I just want to sort of get into your thinking here around why you're wearing that." You know, I mean, but no, look, each to their own. I mean, that's cool. But I mean, as you said, it's gotten into the psyche of people, and people are fearful. And we've just got to, you know, relax a bit, chill, take a deep breath, and just say, "Oi, trust your body, trust your body's natural immune system." You mentioned about the airy fairy, Nick. I mean, and when I say they, Big Pharma's done such a good job of shutting down people like us by that whole narrative around anti-vax, weirdos, tinfoil hats, you know, rather than anti-vax people actually questioning the science and questioning the narrative and asking some genuine questions. We get shut down really quick as anti-vax. Again, health and wellness, eating organically, hippies, you know. So they've done such a good job at really pushing us aside and promoting their narrative, haven't they? I mean, it is really quite frustrating. It's not conspiracy, it's true.
Yeah, there isn't. And I did a bit of study at Auckland University as part of my chiropractic study, and there were also, like, there's documented science that the mind can affect immunity.
Absolutely.
And it's there. There's plenty of studies to back it up, but now we've got to ignore all those because they're not from the pulpit of truth.
But if we look at that from our rugby days, our rugby days perspective as coaches, even, we always empower our players, saying, you know, the body achieves what the mind believes. And so we have to get the mind of our players before we send them onto the field, or even us as players. You know, if we went out there and thought, "Oh man, we're up against North Shore this weekend. Oh, we're going to get hammered." Well, you're probably going to get hammered. So again, the power of the mind is not to be underestimated by.
Well, I've got a cool story of that one. I was running a marathon over in the Gold Coast, and I was going along pretty well. It was about 30 minutes before the end, and I ran up beside this young guy, and he goes, "Oh, how you doing?" And I said, "Oh, okay." I knew the trap that he was falling into, and I said, "Oh, what about you?" And he goes, "Oh, great. I'm just thinking about my bourbon I'm going to have. And then what he'd done is let his mind go to the finish. His body thought he'd finished and he shut down. I turned around, he was walking.
Yeah.
And I knew like with him talking, he said, oh no, he's mentioning the finish line. I just shut that out and I was right. I just started concentrating on breathing and on my stride. And I knew for a fact his mind had gone to the finish, so his body went there as well.
Absolutely. That's a really good story. And I talk about, training as well. You're training athletes. And 9 times out of 10, I'd say to the guys, when I run them into the ground, we'd do Henny Mollers, we'd do beat tests, we'd do Broncos, we'd do whatever. And I say, what am I testing, boys? And they knew me well enough. They'd say, our mental toughness. Yeah. So I wasn't testing their physical fitness. I was running them into the ground to see who could keep putting their foot in front of the other. And so, again, I'd mess them with their mind. And I'd tell them on a Thursday, and I can swear on my platform, but I'd call it a mind fuck. So what I'd do is I'd mess with their minds on a Thursday, and I'd say, look, on Sunday morning, I'm going to break you guys. I said, so make sure you come ready. So what that does, 3 or 4 days out from training, they're like, oh my God, Sunday morning's going to be really rough. Better get an early night, Saturday night, I'm going to turn up prepared. So you see the ones who are mentally tough. The mentally weak ones are the ones that ring you on Saturday. Oh, coach, my grandmother's died. I can't make training. I said, didn't she die last year too? So you see it all the time. And so the mind is a big one. I'm a big fan of that. And so from a sports point of view and a health point of view, certainly being mentally tough, I think, is very, very important.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, can I just jump in and say hi, Dr. Nick, hi, Dr. Jeff, hi, Kasha. Yeah, it's just something you're talking about, the mind and all that, and apologies for being in and out on the call. Phones won't stop ringing. The mental thing, I had something that happened to me about 20 years ago. I got as crook as a dog. Absolute. I thought I was dying, right? And I was working in a pub. I was managing this pub. The pub had been sold, and the owner had put his son in as the head manager guy, but I was still one of the main managers. And I felt a bit crook, and so I said, oh, can I have a couple of days off? It's early in the week. And he went, yeah, no, that's fine. And I went to the doctor, and I had blood tests, I had ECGs, I had all these tests done, and they couldn't find what was wrong with me. And I said, oh, look, I'm literally dying here, and I don't know what it is. And anyway, he goes, well, wait for these tests to come back. And I went, oh, okay. I rang up the other guy and said, look, I still need a couple of days off. I'll be back at work on Friday when it gets busy, Is that okay? And he went, yeah, no, that's fine, Kevin, not a problem. I went, sweet. I then within 20 minutes had a phone call from the actual owner of the bar saying, look, I've got your sickness certificate here. You should be back at work. Why are you not back at work? And I said, oh, I spoke to, blah, blah. And he said, I could still have a couple of days off. And he went, no, you should be back at work. You've got no more sick leave left. And I went, okay. Now, I've been working in this bar for 6 years, which is quite a long time to be working in one bar, right? And I pretty much ran the place. And I just sat there and I looked at Coralie and I went, I can't do this anymore. One person saying one thing, one person saying another thing. That's it. I'm leaving the industry after 10, 15 years. I've had enough. I wrote a letter that night, took it into him that day, still feeling as crook as a dog, handed him my resignation letter, walked out, hopped into the car, and I was 100% healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't until that moment I became a firm believer in how stress can affect your well-being, if you understand what I mean. And now, if I ever, feel conflict, I know that feeling now. And if I hear people go, oh, I can't do this because I'm stressed out, before I'd say, oh, grow up here, I'd actually say, what's the external factors of you feeling stressed? And it was literally me just writing on a piece of paper and saying, I quit. And I'd spent heaps of money at the doctors. No doctor not one doctor had spoken to me about my mental well-being.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it, Kevin. And you hit the nail on the head. And like I can't speak for Nick, but in 22 years of practice, I haven't had a single day off sick. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, we don't get sick leave, so we can't be sick, so we're not allowed to be. But number two, again, we keep ourselves healthy, we keep ourselves well. But how often have you heard of people going away on holiday and actually getting sick on holiday? They call it holiday-itis. So what happens is that we survive through the days, the work, etc. The adrenal system's kicking in, etc. And then when we go on holiday, we actually release, and that's when we actually the body then wants to purge itself. And so we go on holiday. And how many times have you heard of that? You heard of that, Nick? How many sick days you had?
Yeah, well, a couple of big ones, but yeah, there were different causes.
True.
You know, the mind is so powerful, and it is something that really needs to be taken into, probably given more respect. And I think, yeah, that's one thing that we're going to have to concentrate on coming out of this shambles of an epidemic as well.
Absolutely.
Hey, look, Jeff, I've got to go now. So
yeah, no, we've been an hour, mate. I really appreciate it, and we will wrap it up. And I'll cut off from Facebook Live now. Let's see, live on Facebook. So, firstly, just thanks, Nick. Bloody awesome speech, mate. Really, really happy to have you on. It was a bloody great chat. We could have chatted for a lot longer.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, mate. I'll let you get back to clinic, and we'll catch up on Thursday or tomorrow night for our awesome Juices Touch team. And I will tell them all that you said that they were hopeless. So I expect a couple of tries from you, old superstar. So,
okay, cool.
Thanks very much, mate. Good on you. See you, bud.